So I just wanted to share a little story out there. Most of you who know of me know that animals are very, very near and dear to my heart. And I have a really magical story to share that I think will just show some people out there how magical the universe actually is. And I only thought about it the other day, funnily enough, as I've been delving quite heavily into some animal work at the moment, just with looking at where I'm going as my 3D job comes to an end, because animals have really always been the center of everything that I've wanted to do with my life from very, very small. The animals and the dragons were the things that have been around since I can remember. And so I've been doing a little bit of introspection on this and just seeing where I'd like to go. And I've also been getting an inkling that being magic is going to go through a little bit of a shift. And I'm not entirely sure what that looks like, but I guess I'd always envisaged it in some way, shape, or form, possibly as the animal work grew, that one day I would only be working with animals, because that really is my calling. And it reminded me of this absolutely magical experience that we went through shortly after we lost our beloved boy Max. And I really just wanted to share it because I just think that there's so much magic and wonder out there that we cannot even begin to comprehend. And I think if we're open to it, it is just absolutely, well, it's just magical. I think that's the best word for it. So the long and short of it is that our beautiful boy Max we noticed just before Christmas Day of 2022 that he seemed to be breathing quite heavily, and it was quite warm, and we didn't think much of it. And then sort of 2 days later, sort of looking at him, realized that something was wrong. And as I say, that was around about sort of probably Christmas Eve. And pretty much on the 4th of January, I had to make a decision to put him to sleep. So it was an incredibly rapid exit from this realm, if you will. And he'd gone from sort of being really, really healthy to within 2 weeks of me just knowing that it was his time. And we took it really, really hard. So that was January 2023. And we took it really, really hard. We'd lost his sister just before the first lockdown in 2020. And we just had Max for a couple of years, as we weren't quite sure what we were doing. We were still renting. Some places were really hard to have animals in. And so we didn't really get a friend for him, because we weren't sure what we were doing until we bought our house. And the beautiful thing is that when we moved out of the place that we were in, where we'd lost his sister, the next place that we lived in, they had a 16-year-old cat. Our neighbors did. And while we were in that house, her name was Tabby. While we were in that house, and we went into our second lockdown, and Tabby resorted to coming over and visiting us every day, being in the home. So, our beautiful boy Max ended up having the neighbor's cat as a companion for about a year or so while we were in that house. So he wasn't always alone. But he was such a beautiful boy. Anyway, but back to this magical story. Now, I've often I know that animals can come in and visit their their human guardians after they've passed. I have heard on 1 or 2 occasions about them actually almost borrowing a physical body here on earth where they can come and visit people in the flesh. And I always thought that this sounded absolutely awesome, but now that I have experienced this, I just really wanted to share the story. And really what happened is, as I say, we lost him early January, and I've got a journal entry about this. And on the 15th of February, my daughter and I were standing outside on the patio looking over the sort of the pond that we overlook where we live. And my daughter was crying and I was crying, and we were hugging each other on the patio, and we were just saying to each other how much we miss Max. And, you know, the grief was still really, really strong. And then we became quiet, and, you know, I said to her, you know, it's, you know, he's still with us, and he's just in spirit, and, you know, he's not in physical form, but he's definitely not gone. And for about 5 minutes, we just were holding one another while we had tears streaming down our faces, looking across at the lake. And there's a lot of mud and stuff around the lake. And the next minute, we saw this pristine white head pop out of the bushes around the lake. And we both looked down, and I said to my daughter, I said, "Is that a cat?" And she said, "Oh my word, we've never seen a white cat around here." So we raced down the stairs shouting for my husband and my other daughter, going, "There's a cat," because we were like, we just wanted to give an animal our love. You know, we really were we're feeling quite desperate over the loss of our boy. And anyway, we ran outside and we plonked our bums on the ground, and about 3 seconds later, you know, hubby and my other daughter followed, and they promptly plonked their bums on the ground next to us. And then I started to call this cat, and it was a little bit timid, and it came up to us and whatnot, and it walked past all of us, and it looked at me, it looked at my daughter and my hubby and my other daughter, and it was a little bit skittish and whatever. But the strangest thing about it was that it had come out of sort of these sort of reeds or long grass that surround the water. And there was not one speck of mud or grass or discoloration on this cat. It was snow white. I mean, I have never seen a cat, and it had slightly longish hair, not quite Persian type hair, but definitely not short hair, kind of in between. It was the most beautiful cat, but as I say, it was the purest white you can imagine. And it had walked a fair way up to come and see us as well. And there was not a speck of grass or dirt. I mean, white to me is always a very angelic type thing. And anyway, this cat came round, and then it walked back round to me, and it came and it gave me a little head boop, and it sat on my lap, and then it sort of crawled off me, and sort of, you know, when they become like liquid cats, if anybody's had a cat where they kind of, you know, they allow their bodies to just almost like melt onto the floor. And then it went and sat on my daughter's lap and gave her a love, and went across to the next one and gave my hubby a love, and went across to my other daughter and gave her a love. And then it walked around the back of us, touching us all with its tail at the back. And we were all sitting there with tears streaming down our faces, just, you know, just sitting there absorbing the love that this cat was giving us, and we were just loving it, and nobody said a word. And we just were, I think we were almost dumbstruck and awestruck. And then there was a little bit of noise about 6 houses down, and another woman came out and what have you. And this cat sort of started to run back into the bushes, and then turned around and came back to us and sat in front of us. And it looked at me, and it then looked at my daughter, then looked at my hubby, and then it looked at my other daughter, and it came past us once more with its tail around us, sort of circled us and what have you, the four of us, and then started to walk off back down to where it had come from. And it turned round as it was about to go into the bushes and just looked at us and sort of flicked the top of its tail into, you know, cats have this question mark thing where they lift their tail in a greeting and the top of it sort of curls over and it looks a bit like a question mark. And it looked at all of us, flicked its tail up into this question mark as if to say goodbye, and disappeared back into the bushes. And do you know that I'm convinced that that was Max? I am convinced that Max somehow either borrowed a body to come and visit us, or he somehow managed to materialize in a different form into our physical plane. And even my hubby, who's, you know, not really into all this woo-woo, still says to me, we still talk about it, and he goes, I still don't understand what happened with that cat that day. And I keep telling him that it was magic. But the thing is that we haven't seen this white cat since. We'd never seen this white cat beforehand. As I say, the fact that it had come out from those bushes, it should have had mud at least on its paws. It was like it had arrived literally from another realm. And I honestly believe that we were all grieving, and our cat came to us to just let us have something physical to love and to touch and to be with. I mean, it must have been with us for all of maybe about 8 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes. It really was in the blink of an eye. But I know that that was Max. And, you know, I just wanted to share the story because I'm just being reminded at the moment of my connection to animals. And I've actually been going through my journals lately and looking through all the dreams and all the experiences I've had while I've been meditating with animals. And then, of course, this experience came up as well. And this wasn't a dream or a meditative experience. This was real in the flesh. My children saw it. My husband saw it. I saw it. But I'm just being reminded of my, you know, my connection to animals and the passion that I share for them. And I just really wanted to share the story because I do think it's magical. And for anybody out there who is mourning the loss of their beloved fur baby or winged baby or scaled baby, whatever that might be, to just know that they are always with you. They are eternal souls just like we are. They are part of Source just like we are. And, you know, if miracles like this can happen, just imagine how much magic there is out there if you just believe it. And I wanted to just leave. I just felt compelled to share the story today because I've not shared it with many people. It was just such a magical experience. And yeah, I hope that this finds somebody who needs it. And if you've had any experiences like this, I'd love for you to share them with me in the comments.